This is TLV1.
TLV1 Radio.
Great mixer.
I like Tel Aviv.
This is still V1.
This is
Tel Aviv is a beautiful city.
Great city, great radio.
TLV1.
This is TLV1.
From the TLV1 studios in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's Louis Live! Now your host, me, and special in-studio guest host, Yossi G. How you doing, Yossi G?
Very good. It's great to be here.
Excellent as to have all you aboard. Of course, Yossi G works for affiliate of ESPN in Philadelphia. He'll be co-hosting with me throughout the hour. We have a great show tonight, but of course, really couldn't start this show without mentioning, obviously, the sad tragedy we found out yesterday that three boys, Naftali, Gilad, and Al, were found deceased. So obviously, this show is dedicated to them. And I thought about not doing the show tonight because I thought maybe it wasn't appropriate. But I'm a big believer that terrorists win if our spirit is broken and if we don't continue talking about sports, talking about things we enjoy. So that's why we're continuing the show tonight. So I hope everyone has a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun, right, Yossi G?
Yeah, that's right, as always.
And we're going to get started right now with the deputy editor of American Soccer Now and U.S. national team columnist at Grantland, Mr. Noah Davis. Noah, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, let's start first with Colombia because there's only one Jewish coach in the entire World Cup. That's Jose Perkerman, and Colombia is really overachieving right now. A lot of people thought they weren't going to be in this round. They take on Brazil on Friday. What do you think is the number one reason they have done so well up until this tournament?
I don't know. It's amazing, you know. I mean, they lost Falcao, and I think people had pretty high expectations for them until he went out, and it seemed like he may make it back, and then he couldn't, and so you kind of wrote Colombia off a little bit, but they've been good. They play, an attacking style. I think we've seen that a lot in this World Cup, that teams that go out and really go after it and try to get goals have had some success. I think as well the teams in South America have done really well. I was down in Brazil for 2 weeks, and the support that all of the South American teams got in the stadiums was pretty amazing. So I think that's been a big key as well.
Noah, Yossi G here. Brazil has been showing a lot of cracks in their game throughout the World Cup, a couple of lucky breaks. How do you see Colombia's attacking style when they go up against Brazil really coming to play?
Well, I think they can definitely. There's goals out there against Brazil for sure. It's interesting. Everyone always talks about the Brazilian attacking style and the free-flowing, joga bonita, and you've really seen in the last maybe decade or so a transition to Brazil of really focusing on the defense, and they have Thiago Silva, and he's been okay, but they're definitely Dani Alves is kind of a liability in the defense. He's great going forward, but he's a liability in the back, and so I think Colombia, they've shown they can score from anywhere on the field. You saw that great goal over the weekend, Gonzalez's goal. He's sort of the breakout star of this World Cup, and so you're going to get space against Brazil. And it just matters if you can take those shots. And I think it'd be great to kind of see a 2-2 game, a 3-2 game, something like that. See a lot of goals. It certainly has the potential to be a great environment with the two teams and with their fan bases.
All right, Noah, let's, of course, talk about the game tonight, United States versus Belgium. United States was in, of course, that group of death, considered by many to be the hardest bracket of all the brackets in the World Cup. They lose to Germany 1-0 the last time they played, but they looked okay. They had a chance to tie right at the end, but they lost. How much of that negative momentum will carry in tonight, if at all?
I don't think the loss is going to matter too much. I mean, getting out of the group is a much bigger accomplishment in the grand scheme of things. I'm a little more concerned with just sort of their inability to hold up the ball. And, Klinsmann has talked about wanting to play this possession style and pass it around. And, you saw against Ghana, they really failed to do that. It seemed like, especially in the later stages of that game against Ghana, they would just, anytime they won the ball in the defensive third or even in the midfield, they would just kind of kick it up the field and hope someone could latch onto it. And, and they played a little bit better against Portugal in terms of possession, and then I thought really regressed against Germany, and Germany had tons of possession. I mean, Germany is a better team, so you sort of expected that, but the U.S. really failed to retain the ball, and they looked a little scared. So I think that's more concerning than the 1-0 scoreline. We'll see. I think Belgium is a good team. They certainly have a lot of individual talent, but I think if the U.S. can just kind of calm down and possess a little bit, and when they've been able to string together 5, 6, 7 passes, they've actually looked pretty good and pretty dangerous. So if they can do that against Belgium, especially if they can do that early, I think they definitely have a chance.
Well, talking about the whole way the United States has their mentality, a lot of their attacking style really rests on Josie Altidore, and the big question surrounding him is how his hamstring is going to really hold up in this game. How do you see the whole fashion of how the U.S. wants to attack Belgium in terms of how Josie Altidore's hamstring is going to play throughout the game?
Yeah, I think Klinsmann came out yesterday and he said that Josie will be available, but, who knows what that means. Klinsmann is pretty optimistic and he plays things pretty close to the vest. So I think the fact that he didn't rule him out means that he could play. I'd be really surprised if Altidore started. I think that is taking a big chance. I think he probably has, maybe 30 or 45 minutes in his legs, and so it seems like a risk to have to take a substitute early. I can see him playing. They'll probably play a 4-5-1 like they've been doing with Dempsey up top. That's been working okay in terms of Dempsey holding the ball up. He's not the physical presence that Altidore is, but I think he has a little bit better touch and he's a little bit of a more intuitive, a smarter player. So he can take some advantages. I think one thing that also works well in the U.S.'s favor is they've really attacked a lot up the flanks, especially with Fabian Johnson, the right back, overlapping on the right. And Belgium doesn't have any fullbacks. They only have 4 healthy defenders, I believe, although Vincent Kompany is still, whether he's going to play or not, is still up in the air. But so they either have 4 or 5 healthy defenders, and none of those guys are true fullbacks. So I think the U.S. can, attack those flanks and get crosses in, which works to their strength in some regards.
One of the other players on the U.S. that has really allowed for many of the fans to kind of hold themselves with bated breath every time he has the ball or every time he's going to attack the ball on the defensive side is Michael Bradley. And the big question with him is how his age really reflects on the field. He's had some, really nice sights to watch him throughout the World Cup, but also it's been pockmarked with mistakes. How do you think his play will be going up against the Belgium defense? Because, like you mentioned, they're a little suspect.
Sure. I'd like to think that Bradley will get back to the form that he showed before the World Cup. I think his worst game was against Ghana. He was a little bit better against Portugal, and he was about the same against Germany. He's an interesting guy because he's so important to the team, both on the defensive end and on the attacking side. And defensively, he's run more than any other player in the World Cup so far. And so he's put in the work, and he fills spaces well, and he provides a security blanket for the U.S. team. I think the problem with him, and it's obvious when you're watching, is that a lot of those balls going forward, those attacking balls, whether they're through balls or over the top balls or just sort of a smart pass out to the side, have really been lacking in the quality, and that's surprising because those are not usually passes that he misses, and he's really missed a lot of them in this World Cup. And it's a credit to the U.S. team, I think, and to their depth and to their quality that they got out of the group with Bradley playing as poorly as he has. I think before the tournament, sort of the rhetoric from everyone, and including myself and a lot of other journalists, was that this team is going to go as far as Michael Bradley can take them, and that really hasn't been the case. Jermaine Jones has really stepped up in that central midfield role in this World Cup and done a lot of those things that Bradley does, and you saw that great goal he scored against Portugal. So, but I think at the same time, I think we're due for sort of a Michael Bradley classic game, and if that happens, I think the U.S. has a very good chance to advance.
All right, Noah, thanks so much for your time. Thank you for being on Louis Live today. Hopefully U.S. gets the W, and, of course, we always appreciate you coming on the program. Thanks so much, and we'll speak with you soon.
Sure, thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to discuss Wimbledon. How do the Israeli players do? Not so good. We'll speak with ESPN Dallas's Mark Elfenbein right after this. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
For your public hobby riding. Cover your breath, cover your teeth. I get no satisfaction from your very recent sightings. Cover your breath, polish your speech. Cover your breath, cover your teeth.
Back here on Louis Live on TLV1. Of course, you can follow the station at TLV1.fm. If you want to email me personally, that's Ari Louis Show at hotmail.com, ARILOUISSHOW at hotmail.com. Of course, Wimbledon is in full effect, and on the line to talk about how our Israeli players did from ESPN Dallas, Mr. Mark Elfenbein. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thank you. How you doing? Shalom, my friend.
Shalom to you as well. Thank you for coming on. And let's kind of tell it like it is. This is not a propaganda show. We tell the truth on this program. The Israeli players did not do that good. Shachar Per lost the first round. Dudi Sela lost the first round. Yulia Glushko lost in the first round. Any particular reason why you think they did so poorly?
No, I just think it's kind of a process, a growing process. I mean, you know, it's almost like when you watch Sloane Stephens of the United States, you see this young up-and-coming girl, you know, make big strides, and then all of a sudden she gets in a certain match, she can't seem to get over the hump. I think Sela was the one that we were looking forward to get past the first round, maybe the second round, maybe do something this year. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Shahar Per, we've seen in the past, you know, she's had her moments, but same thing there. And I think with Julia, it's just time. You know, she's just got – but you know, every year in Wimbledon, as you see in the women's action right now, you just never know, especially on the women's side, when somebody's going to have one of those runs and they take it into the quarterfinals and then the semifinals, and then you never know. I think we're waiting for one of our Israeli players to make that move, and unfortunately, all three didn't get a chance to get it done this year.
Mark, this is Yossi G here. I wanted to know about Shahar Pierre because it seems that her end is near. She's been around for a little bit of time and has certainly had her moments. Do you think this is the end of her singles career?
You know, it might be close because, like I think we've all seen, she's had her moments in the past and can't seem to get over the hump. It's ironic. Every once in a while in tennis, you'll hear somebody, they'll switch tennis coaches. You know, in baseball, they'll switch batting instructors. You know, in boxing, they'll switch their trainers. And I don't know if it's something like that somebody else can see something in her game that can help her. But, you know, you're right. It might be too far along for her. You know, every once in a while you'll see that incredible veteran player or somebody that looks like they're at the end of their career and they find something in their game. I'll give you the analogy in basketball. You know, the great players always look for something to better their game. Magic Johnson finally worked on his jump shot. Karl Malone worked on his free throws. And Shahar Per might need to find somebody else to help her get to another level. Or, like you said, it might be the end.
All right. You know, you're saying really nice things about our Israeli players. We appreciate that. But the way I look at it is, I mean, we didn't win one set. I mean, I look as more as a disaster, but it sounds like you're saying it wasn't that bad. If they fix a couple of things, there might be some chance at progress.
No. You get skunked like that, it sucks.
Okay, great.
Okay,
all
you
right.
get skunked, it sucks. I don't care if it's in tennis, checkers, badminton, or hopscotch. You know, so yeah, not winning a set stinks. Let's make it real clear.
All right.
It's just unfortunate that, you know, you watch some players and you ask yourself, what is it? You know, is it a mental thing? Is it you just lost it? And sometimes it happens. You just lose it, and you can't get it back. And sometimes it is something. But, yeah, you lose 3 straight sets like that, that sucks. That stinks.
All right.
Not good. That's a burnt bagel, my friend.
Yes, that's for sure. Go ahead, Yossi.
So I just wanted to know, we had John Isner, you know, one of the Americans, lost to Feliciano Lopez, and it's a bit of an upset in that game, and I actually thought that Isner was going to have it after the first set. What did you think went wrong for Isner, or on the flip side, went right for Lopez to have Feliciano Lopez go and claim what ended up being a victory for him?
Well, you know, it's funny because Isner, being the monster he is with his serve game, when he's on, and you thought, like you said early on, things were good, but Lopez, I think, got him on his heels at one point. And we've seen this with Isner. By the way, I've never seen a guy that plays the longest matches ever. It's that dude. You know, he like gets giddy when it's a 7-6 set. But, you know, Lopez just seemed to find it. And again, Isner couldn't seem to get what he needed done. You know, first serves for him is magic. And, you know, once he starts having an issue with that, Lopez put it to him.
Certainly, I think he certainly did that as well. A couple of the big names that are still in on the men's side are obviously Stan Wawrinka, Andy Murray, Novak Djokovic. Who do you think has the best chance out of those three to claim Wimbledon as his own?
Well, it's funny. I think Nadal's in the process of playing right now, if I'm not mistaken, against Kyrgios, and I think he might have won the first set. And Rafa's been okay. It's not his favorite place to play. Wawrinka, I believe, is going up against Federer, which is going to be delicious to watch. I mean, he just won over Lopez 7-6, 7-6, 6-3. Djokovic has looked a little it's almost like he's ripe for the taking, and I love watching him play. And I know he goes up against Marin Cilic coming up. So I don't know if Djokovic gets there, but right now you kind of have to like the way Andy Murray continues to play, trying to get a repeat at Wimbledon done. Roger seems to be playing as well as he's played, but I'm going to just take a flyer, and I'll say Wawrinka and Murray might meet up in the finals.
All right, Mark, that's it for the segment. I'm sorry, we wish we had more time. You were great, and I really appreciate your kind email to me saying how much you want to represent your homeland coming on the program. So thank you so much. Of course.
My pleasure. I was hoping to drop a little Shlomo Glickstein on you guys, but that was a long time ago.
Shlomo's been on this program. He's a very nice guy, actually, as a matter of fact. Of course, a legend back in the day. Had some pretty impressive victories. But, yeah, Shlomo's probably our best tennis player of all time. So certainly
all time.
Yeah, certainly a great player. Again, Mark, thank you so much. Check out Mark's work. ESPN Dallas. Everyone listen to this program. Go get your illegal satellite and watch him somehow. I don't know how you do it, but get on the internet, whatever you got to do.
I appreciate it, fellas. Thank you so much.
Sure, Mark. Be well. All right, Mark, Elfenbein, boys and girls. Coming up next, me and Yossi G will talk for a couple of minutes about LeBron James going to Cleveland or will he stay in Miami, where Carmelo join him. And how will this affect David Blatt, who, of course, is the new coach of Cleveland, and he used to coach Maccabi Tel Aviv. So that's certainly a factor for all of us. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
There she stood in the street, smiling from her head to her feet. I said, hey, what is this? Now, baby, maybe she's in need of a kiss. I said, hey, what's your name, baby? Maybe we can see things the same. Now, don't you wait, oh, hesitate. Let's move before they raise the fucking rate. All right now, baby, it's all right now. All right now, baby, it's all right now. Let me tell you now.
Back here on Louis Live. Of course, great music all the time in this program. That is courtesy of Tomer Gersherman. Of course, producing with me tonight is Adam Schur and, of course, Leora Peleg. And as I mentioned, you can follow the station on Twitter at TLV1.fm. We have some great shows coming up. Next week, we'll have on a member from the Israel Lacrosse media team. The Israel Lacrosse national team is playing in Denver starting this Friday. They will not be playing on Friday night or Shabbat, of course, but they will be playing in the World Games in Denver. And we're going to have correspondents throughout those games telling us how our team did. And we hope to have on Paul Hirschberger as well, who's the filmmaker, made a film about the Israel Football League. I'm in the movie, so we're going to have Paul on and promote it. In this segment, we want to talk about what happened last Thursday with the NBA draft. Cavs had the number 1 overall pick. They take Andrew Wiggins, and David Blatt, of course, now the coach in Cleveland. So, Yossi G, let's go right to it. LeBron James, free agent. If he hops into Cleveland with Wiggins and Kyrie Irving, I think they go to the NBA Finals within 2 years. Your thoughts?
Oh, well, I think they go to the finals sooner than that.
Really?
Well,
is Wiggins ready?
I don't know how much. Well, here's the thing. Wiggins has the largest ceiling out of any of the players that were drafted in the top 10. He has a lot of work still to be done with him. But if you even speak to his coach at Kansas, he'll tell you that the reason why Wiggins played the way he played this past season was because he was more of a selfless player. In the NBA, you learn you have to be selfish in very many occasions. So the fact that it's a different, not a different sport, but it's a completely different way of playing the game will certainly play to his athleticism, to the way that he handles the ball, to the way that he handles himself on the court. And when you have guys on the team, and of course we're talking a potentiality with LeBron James, a guy like LeBron can certainly help Andrew Wiggins develop a lot faster than many people really think.
Yeah, and I'm very happy Cleveland didn't take Jabari, and no offense to him, but I believe in that Duke curse. Bobby Hurley, you have, of course, Christian Laettner, even Grant Hill did not flourish as they were supposed to. And even look at Jason Williams of the recent Duke team, not that recent, but about 10 years ago, and J.J. Redick, they just never pan out. So I was very happy they didn't take Jabari. Now, what I want to point out to our fans, they might be like, why are you guys talking about this? Because if Cleveland goes to the NBA Finals, you're going to have how many millions of people watch David Blatt on TV? How many millions of people watch the NBA Finals, OCG? You know the numbers.
Well, it's certainly a lot in the States, and if you go internationally, especially considering the international flavor that the San Antonio Spurs brought this past season, with
all the foreign players,
with all of it, so it was like the United Nations on the San Antonio Spurs.
But we're talking, what, 70 million people, somewhere around there, if you count international numbers per game.
I wouldn't go. If you're counting international numbers, I still wouldn't go that high.
All right, how about 40 or 50?
Well, probably like around 35 million viewers in an NBA Finals game this past season, simply because it was the Spurs on one hand versus the Heat on the other. I think that's what really created that whole maelstrom of viewers. However, if you have it, even so, it's the NBA Finals. There will be a lot of people tuning in. And for Israel to have a coach who's been here, yes, he's Boston born, yes, he's Boston bred, and yes, he's Boston raised. But to have a guy who's coached in Israel and who's led his teams to championships, you are going to have a lot of international flavor there and a lot of viewers in Israel, and it will certainly bring a lot of pride to the Holy Land.
Yeah, because that's what I want to point out. I mean, with all due respect to Omri Caspi, Gomako, these guys are bench players, and to have the head guy, a guy, the face of the team, not that he's a player, but the guy that's calling the shots, be Israeli and be a very well-spoken and very intelligent guy representing our country in front of 35 million people a game. To give people perspective on that, the Super Bowl has about 110 million, but that's one game. The NBA Finals, if it goes 7, talk about 35 million people times 7. So this is a huge deal for Israel. That's why we're going to be rooting. I'll be talking about this. I'll talk about this for months. We'll be talking about this until LeBron is signed, because everyone should pray that he goes to Cleveland and that we have David Blatt in the NBA Finals. Now let's talk about the question of if LeBron will go to Cleveland and the odds of that. What are your thoughts, OCG?
You're really opening up this Pandora's box?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, here's the thing, though. When you look at, obviously, with LeBron, he's the hometown kid. Yeah, we all know what happened in the summer of LeBron when he went to the Heat and the decision and all of that, all the backlash from it. But LeBron's wife has said on the record that she does not want to stay in Miami. Because, yeah, it's nice, it's beautiful, it's warm, but we all know that warm can also bring humidity, and everybody living in Tel Aviv can certainly reflect and understand what that is. But with that said, she really likes Cleveland. She likes Akron. She's a hometown girl as well. And she's told LeBron that Cleveland is one of her preferred destinations. So if he, like the saying goes, a happy wife is a happy life. Right. So with that said, certainly there's a lot of reasons pointing towards Cleveland, also making reparations with the Cleveland fan base for what he did when he went to Miami and how that all developed. So there's a lot of reasons for LeBron to want to go back home and ply his craft back in the state of Ohio.
Take his talents back to Cleveland.
Certainly would do that. But one of the interesting things that I read yesterday was how the Phoenix Suns...
What?
Yes, that's right, Ari Louis.
We're not getting LeBron James.
The Phoenix Suns, it's a long shot, certainly. Of course, you have the Chicago Bulls and the Houston Rockets there as well, who really have the viability and reasons to want to get him. But with Chicago and Houston, there's a lot of cap problems and a lot of cap space issues in terms of money that they can offer him, especially when you consider that Carmelo Anthony is probably going to be attached at the hip with LeBron James. Really good friends, both of them, and both having expressed that they want to play with one another. So when you look at the whole setup and situation in Phoenix, even though it is a bit of a long shot, they have the best potentiality to land both of these guys for max deals. They have $33.5 million available in cap space, plus the ability to create another $10 million in cap space without getting rid of any of their good players who helped allow the Phoenix Suns to 48 wins this past season.
And last thing we'll talk about, another Israeli connection with the Miami Heat, of course, is their owner, Mickey Arison, also Ron Katz, who was on my program a couple years ago. Let's talk about what needs to be done for LeBron to remain in Miami.
What needs to be done for LeBron to remain in Miami is for him to get players who can actually play.
And a point guard would be nice.
Well, a point guard would be nice because he's never had one. When you consider that Dwayne Wade is on his last legs and that Chris Bosh has really become a jump shooter because he's scared of the paint. He really needs to have somebody who he can pass the ball to or could pass the ball to him. Right. And Miami does not have that ability right now. They really went all for it. And look, 4 finals appearances in 4 years, 2 championships is nothing to knock because they did their job. But the question going forward, of course, is what will be. And I really see Miami as not being that team where he'll end up next season.
Wow. So, okay, that's something else because it seemed like people thought that was the favorite, but you're saying the other way. His wife, I like that point because LeBron is a 29-year-old mega superstar athlete, and his wife may want him in a suburb of Cleveland as opposed to Miami Beach.
Well, hey, the hometown girl. You could take the girl out of Cleveland, but you can't take Cleveland out of the girl. At the end of the day, she wants to go back home.
I'm saying she doesn't want her husband partying until 3 in the morning.
It's only when they win championships, so that only happens twice and probably won't ever happen again.
Well, if he goes back to Cleveland, hopefully it will. All right. Well, certainly time will tell on what exactly is going to happen. I'm sure Pat Riley will have his voice or two on that. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk about rhythm gymnastics with a member of the Israeli national team, Katie Levina. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
Sail ocean
All right, back here on Louis Live. Great show so far, and we have a couple more exciting guests to come. And on the line right now is a very well-accomplished professional runner. He's won the gold in the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 4x100-meter in the junior championships, and, of course, now is a professional runner. It's our pleasure to bring onto the program Mr. Imre Preciado. Imre, welcome to the program.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
Doing great. Now, my first question for you is, you're of military age, but you got a special exception because you're such a talented runner, and I'm very curious how that works. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, there's a program for athletes in Israel in the military. They actually give us very nice conditions to train. I have something like 100 days, I can compete over Europe and have some training camps, and I have a really nice condition in the military. And when I come to there, I'm like near a computer or something, doing nothing, not using guns or anything like that. So I can rest and get prepared for my training.
Imre, Yossi G here. Will you talk about your training, regimen? What exactly? Walk us through the daily routine that you have to get you ready for your runs.
Well, I need, of course, to rest. Sleep well to recover from heavy train. Then we're going to the track, of course. It's like 3 hours training. Sometimes we go to the gym. It depends on the season. Like in the preseason, we're doing more gym, less track. And when the competition season starts, we race. We do lose less in the gym and more in the track. It depends on the season.
What sort of ways do you keep your body in shape and keep your body healthy so you don't get any of these types of knee issues or hamstring issues that a lot of the, so to speak, regular people tend to have when they try running or if they try to run too often or too much?
Well, you need to have a sportsman life. You need to have the therapy next to you. You need to eat well, eat on time, and the most important thing, I think, is the rest. If you don't rest enough, it's like a key for injuries. You have to rest and live like a sportsman. You can't go out. You have to sleep very early and act like a professional.
There is a saying in terms of how a body recovers that I know a lot of runners in the United States use a cold bath, an ice bath to recover. Is that something that you tend to use as well, or is it something that you try to stay away from?
No, of course I'm doing it. Everyone does it. Football players, athletes, everyone. It's very good for recovery after hard training. Sometimes you can do the ice bath, and after that, put on yourself like hot water. There are many techniques, to recover. But that I leave it to my coach. He just tell me what to do, and I do it, and it works.
What is the difference that you can let us know? Because we're not professional runners. We don't do this every single day for money. What is the difference between the daily routine that you have when you're running, when the season is going, and the daily routine when it's, so to speak, the off season?
The off season, you mean when we don't train, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, the off season, of course, we don't walk, we don't train, but we still keep all the healthy stuff like eating, therapy. Sometimes we are jogging outside. We can't start going out at parties and drink, and hang out. You have to be a professional all the way. And when is the season, we have to be more focused, to be very... 1 second, there's an airplane. You have to be more careful about your health, because once you get in shape, it's very easy to get sick. So you just need to take care of yourself and be very careful.
There's certainly an idea in terms of professional athletes never having a social life and never really being able to go out and enjoy themselves a night here, a night there. Would you say the same is true for a professional runner? Do you have a social life?
I do have a social life, but I have much less social life than before I get into the athletics. I mean, all my goals is like no to have a beautiful girlfriend or to go out. All my goal is just to run fast, and that's what I care about. And sometimes I really forget about friends, and sometimes it's not nice, but you must know how to combine. And because of the athletics, I lose many friends, and I started to know like more friends from the athletics area. But that's the kind of thing you have to sacrifice if you want to be successful.
Well, it seems that you have been successful. You won gold in the 100, 200, and 4x100 in the juniors, and you've had a pretty successful career throughout. What do you think is the biggest accomplishment that you've had to date in your career?
Well, in the beginning of every year, me and my coach were like thinking about results that we want to accomplish in the same year. And last year we thought about the result, and I ran much faster than what I thought. This year we thought about a certain result, and once again, the season isn't over yet, and I ran much faster than we thought. So we decided not to speak about results and just train as tough as we can, because I keep getting better, and you can't really know what you can do. You just have to train. You do your best, and that's it.
I have to ask you this one last question before we let you go. You have a couple of different types of running that you like to do, the different lengths of running that you like to run. Aside from which one is your favorite, are you going to stick with one, or is this going to be the future that you're going to try to run as many as possible?
Right now I'm 100 and 200 meter athletes, and I think it's the best for me. Tall guys are very good, if you have the speed, of course, are very good in the 200, and like shorter guys, they're better for the 100 because they can accelerate much faster. Right now my 100 and 200 results are nice, and they're like equal by their quality. I just keep training, keep get better and better, and I just race. I mean, I don't have to choose between them because the training is almost the same for both of them. Like the distance for 100, you run like below 100 and until 200 meters. And if you train for the 200, you go like for the 250, maybe 300 meters in the train. So if you can do it, and maybe to be like a 200 meter runner in the future, you do it. I mean, you don't want to lose the opportunity for that.
All right, and Imre, last question from me. Let's talk about your goals for the future. Obviously, very well accomplished young man, but there's a lot of running left to be done. Tell us, where do you see yourself in the future?
Well, next year there's the European Championship. That will be also an Israeli record if I will be there, and I'm sure that I can do it. And the Olympics, of course, Rio 2016. I really hope to be there, and I believe I can.
All right. We'll be following your career. Hope you make it there, obviously. And after you do that, we expect you to be on the show. So, Imre, thank you again.
Of course.
Yes, thank you for being on with us tonight, and good luck with the rest of your career the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Be well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Very exciting story on the other side. Of course, a few weeks ago, we had on Brad Horn, who's the Vice President of Communications at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, talking about an exhibit regarding Israel baseball and the artifacts that are there. On the other side of this break, the man who made that possible, David Miller. This is Lubas Live on TLV1.
rock and roll.
All right, back here on Louis Live on TLV1. Again, great program so far. We're going to keep going in style. As I mentioned right before the break, we spoke with Brad Horn a few weeks ago, Vice President of Communications of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. They have an exhibit about Israel baseball. Of course, the IBL was played in 2007. And on the line right now, the man who made that exhibit possible, Mr. David Miller. David, welcome to Louis Live here on TLV1.
All right, thank you. A pleasure to be with you.
All right. So tell us a bit about how you got this started. How did you initiate this exhibit that's now in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Well, a little background first. I was living in Israel during the time that the league was formed. At the time, my older daughter, Carly, was playing for the Israel National Junior Girls Softball team, which took place at the Baptist Village, which was where ultimately most of the IBL was centered around. And so I by hook and crook, I ended up being involved in the league. I was recruited to assist in some of the laying some of the groundwork for the league, and I ended up being a scout for one of the teams for the Netanya Tigers, as well as I ended up being the field announcer for the playoffs and the championship game. And along the way, collected a few pieces of memorabilia here and there, some bats and some signed balls and some other things, and put them away and ended up back in the States early 2011. And fast forward to this past late January, I was reading an article somewhere online that the National Baseball Hall of Fame had an international exhibit, and it just occurred to me, I should probably offer up what I have and see if they were interested. And on a whim, I sent an email to their general mailbox, not really expecting to hear anything. It's kind of a shot in the dark, but I sent them an email, and literally within 5 minutes, I had received an email back from a woman named Sue McKay, who is the vice president of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and one of the curators for the museum. She asked me to send her a photograph of what I had, and so I took those photos and sent them back to her. And I also was trying to track down some other pieces, some uniforms, because I didn't have anything other than a bat and some balls, and I think I had a hat from one of the teams. I did track down somebody who I knew who had played for the franchise in Renana, the Renana Express, Ben Fields, and he had a few things. He had his uniform, and he also had some preserved game tickets. So he sent me photographs of those, which I included in the bundle and sent off to Sue McKay. And then probably the next day she sent me a response saying, okay, thank you for the photos, and the procurement committee will be meeting in late February, and we'll let you know. Okay, and the "we'll let you know" part sounded kind of like
a blow off, like it was going to happen.
Okay,
right.
Yeah, but sure enough, February 25th, I received an email back from Sioux saying they would like to have the bat and the game tickets, which Ben Field provided. So I was shocked, thrilled, and happy to have Israel represented in such a prestigious venue. I mean, probably the prestigious venue for baseball in the world. And they sent me their FedEx account number, and I packed it all up and shipped it off to her. And in the interim, she sent me an email asking me for some history on the bat. And actually, the bat I collected after the championship game. It was left behind in the dugout of the Modain Miracle. One of the players' numbers was inscribed on the handle of the bat. So I tracked down who it belonged to. It was the bat of Jamie Amar, who I stalked mercilessly just recently, and let him know. And can you imagine getting that phone call? Because he didn't know who I was at first, and I did track him down and just let him know that his bat was now in the Hall of Fame with his name on it.
Not bad. His bat's in the same Hall of Fame as Babe Ruth, DiMaggio, Mantle, all that stuff. Dave, I'm going to turn you over to Yossi G, who's got a question for you. Go ahead, Yossi.
Just in terms of the showcase, has Cooperstown showed it to you? Have you seen what it looks like? Is it among other international pieces? Is it on its own solo? Israel? What's it like?
Well, good question. I did receive a bit of an education as to the overall collection of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. They have, of course, thousands of pieces, and pieces go on and off display on a regular rotation. Some are permanent, some are rotated in and out. These pieces have not yet been put on display. They are planning to display them at some point in the future. And they would, indicated they would let me know when that happens. I guess in response to donating these items to them, I did receive, bless their hearts, a lifetime pass.
All right.
To the Hall of Fame.
Not bad.
And so, hopefully when that occurs, I'll truck on up to Albany and take the 2-hour drive down to Cooperstown.
All right, David, here's my question in that you had the initiative to make this happen. Why was it you and not, all due respect to the Israel Baseball League, but how come it wasn't the president, vice president, someone else? Why is it that you made this happen?
I really can't answer that. I can't speak for them. All I know is that, I've followed Israel sports. As you know, I coached in the Israel Football League.
Right.
My daughter, as I mentioned, played in the Israel softball program. So, I'm always trying to promote Israeli sports wherever I have an opportunity. And, just like I said, on a whim, this sort of fell in my lap as an opportunity to do this. I think it's important from a historic perspective to have, a foothold in the Hall of Fame, because I watched Team Israel take part in the World Baseball Classic qualifier tournament. We came just so close to qualifying for the major tournament.
Right.
And, the etymology of baseball in Israel should be documented.
Sure.
And so I think, while there's been baseball in Israel for a long time, when I first came to Israel in the early 80s, there was a fledgling Little League going on. And then this time around, when I was there from 2004 through 2011, I saw that there was a very robust Little League and also a very well-organized adult league. There is a history of baseball in Israel. It may not be well known, but that was part of the thinking behind it, was to try and get Israel represented in that most sacred of venues in Cooperstown. And sure enough, they took the bait, and it's there. So
there you go. David Miller, of course, making history happen and having history recorded at the Baseball Hall of Fame. David, thank you for being on my show tonight, Louis Live, and thank you for your contribution to Israel baseball.
My pleasure, Ari.
All right, be well. Sure. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to wrap things up, make a prediction of tonight's big game with the United States and other cool stuff. So this you should listen to on the other side. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live to wrap things up. And let's make a prediction for tonight's game, U.S. versus Belgium, which is going to take place in about 3 hours. In the break, you said that you thought you had the same prediction as me. My prediction is the U.S. will win 2-1.
Oh, then we certainly don't have the same prediction. Oh, this is gonna be great.
Okay.
It's gonna go to extra time because the way that both Belgium and the U.S. match up, I think the gamesmanship between both teams is very, very respectful. The Belgian side plays a fashion where the U.S. can defend and vice versa. The U.S. is going to be able to do things that they were not able to do against Germany because of the superior quality of the German machine.
Yeah.
That just goes from, yes, they make really good products both on and off the field,
Right.
and the way they play the game on the pitch is a way that the U.S. has not been able to match. They're not at that level yet for of German superiority. However, Belgium, yes, they're a small country. They have some really good players, though, and I think the way they match up with the U.S., you'll be able to see some things that the U.S. Played as they play against Ghana as well as Portugal. It'll be interesting to see, but I see this going to extra time, likely Belgium winning with a golden goal.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, of course, if U.S. can pull it off, they'll go in the final 8, which I believe they have not done since 2002. So U.S. soccer fever at a all-time pitch, but according to OCG, will end tonight.
It always seems like the U.S. soccer fever is at an all-time pitch every 4 years, and that's it. And then it dies.
Right. They don't really care
But that's
about
why
that
we
much.
have the World Cup.
All right. Again, we were talking about basketball with LeBron James, where he's going to, and you brought up some great points about him going to Cleveland. At the end of the day, does he go back to the Cavs?
I think he is going to go back to the Cavs.
Wow.
I think when it's all said and done, a happy wife is a happy life.
Right.
And that's a motto I live by every day.
Yeah. You know from experience. I'm actually going to predict he'll stay in Miami because of the Pat Riley factor. Pat Riley was able to make this whole thing happen 4 years ago, and that's why LeBron, by the way, is only 29 years old. He'll be 30 in December, has a lot of great basketball left. Of course, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he does go to Cleveland because that would be great for David Blatt. And the few minutes we have left, of course, you're not just a radio star, OCG, you're a TV star. You have a TV show. Tell us a bit about that.
So it's Sports Schmooze. That's sports with a Z. If you haven't checked it out yet, go out. It's on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, Twitter account. So check that out. Certainly, basically, the idea is Jews talking about sports based around in New York, but really essentially just killing it on the air. Really, that's what we do.
So basically, you're talking about all topics of American sports. Is that or world sports?
It's based solely around New York sport, the New York sports scene. I mean, when you talk about the New York sports scene, you have enough really to cover
several years,
millennium. But if there's a sports story that obviously includes New York, then certainly that's what we'll talk about as well. So yeah, if Carmelo Anthony ends up in Chicago, then we'll talk about that because he was from New York. He played for the Knicks. He screwed the New York Knicks up, and he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Whoa, he screwed them up?
Yeah,
what did he do?
He demanded a certain amount of players to be traded for him, plus a first-round pick in this year's draft. He's the gift that keeps on giving. Then again, he opts out of his contract this year when he should have kept the $23.5 million he was owed. Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving.
Okay, I mean, from Carmelo's perspective, they didn't really build much around him per se. I mean,
when you sign a max contract, how are you supposed to sign other players?
Well, right. Yeah, Kevin Garnett figured that out in Minnesota, and that's why I had to go to Boston.
You realize we'll talk about Kevin Garnett, you realize how much the Brooklyn Nets lost this year?
Money?
$140 million.
Yeah, they had the highest payroll in the NBA. It was not Miami. It was not the Knicks. It was the Nets.
Yeah, and they completely flunked that test.
Yeah, that was not a smart decision, and we knew that coming up when you signed guys 38, 36 to huge contracts, or you trade for them and they have huge contracts. It's not going to help you build a team.
Be careful what you wish for, because there's a Russian oligarch who probably is listening to this station right now who's not happy. Mikhail Prokhorov.
Yeah.
The owner.
Oh, I don't want to see that guy in the back alley. There's no doubt about that. There's a little mafia connections, but whatever. People seem to give him a pass on that one for whatever reason.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah, we're done with that. All right, that is the end of our program. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Of course, thank you to our guests. Again, we've had a great show. We began the program with Noah Davis, who's deputy editor of American Soccer Now and U.S. national team columnist at Grantland, talking about why the U.S. has been so successful up to this point. We then spoke with Mr. Mark Elfenbein, who says losing in straight sets sucks. Sorry, I tried to say that really fast. And then, of course, we had on Emi Preciado, professional. I didn't say anything wrong. Relax. We then had on Emi Preciado, who is a professional runner, talk about his goals about going to the Olympics in 2016. And then we wrap things up with David Miller making the Israel baseball exhibit responsible in Cooperstown. Again, next week we're going to have a great, great show. Stay tuned for that and a lot of great programming on this network. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.
לא טובה אליי, גם קצת גדולה עליי, זה מסוכן מדי, רק בת 16, ילדה אישה טורפת וגדולה מהחיים, היא כבר בגן התחילה לפתות מבוגרים, ושהיא נוגעת ומפציץ את החושים, אז קחי את הרגליים כי אין לי עוד הקרושים, ואת לא! את לא אישה שלי, אל תשחקי איתי, אל תהרגי אותי, רק בת 16. ילדה קצת מפותחת עם הראש בעיניים, בת 16 בערך והגוף שלה בת 30, ושהיא צוללת עד המים מתייבשים, אז קחי את הרגליים כי אין לי על הפנים, ואת לא! רוצה כל כך לגעת ולעשות המרגלים, ילדה מנדלת ועולה לעצבים, אז קחי את הרגליים והביתה להורים, בובה את בועטת ושובר לי את הביצים, בובה את בועטת ושובר לי את הביצים, בובה את בועטת ושובר לי את הביצים.